All right, let's dive right into this explainer and unpack a completely normalized, culturally protected habit that leaves so many of us feeling inexplicably broke. Picture this. It's 11 p.m. on a Sunday, you're lying in bed, doing the exact thing you swore you wouldn't do, scrolling. And suddenly, there it is. Someone you went to high school with is standing in an infinity pool that just seamlessly drops off into the ocean. The caption says something super profound like, "We only get one life." Your thumb stops? You know the feeling, right? Something in your chest tightens, and before you've even fully thought it through, you've opened a travel app, picked some dates, and clicked that friendly little button that says, "Reserve now, pay over time."
So I really want you to think about this. Who is actually paying for your vacation? Is it you today or your future self? Here's the wild part nobody tells you about that infinity pool photo. There is a very, very decent chance the person standing in it is actually more broke than you are. They didn't pay for that pool with cash. A payment plan did. The trip they're calling priceless online is going to absolutely haunt their credit card statements for the next 11 months. So today, we're not talking about whether you should or shouldn't travel. We're pulling apart the trap, a trap disguised so perfectly that we actually thank it for robbing us.
Section 1. The Vacation Debt Trap. This really kicks off our investigation into how everyday travelers fall into a massive financial hole without even realizing it. Because frankly, the numbers are genuinely unhinged. A median household expects to spend over $10,000 on trips in a single year, which is a massive chunk of their gross income. And how are we paying for it? Well, data from NerdWallet shows that of the people who put their summer trip on a credit card, a staggering 74% did not pay it off right away. Over a third hadn't paid it off a full year later. Just think about that. Almost 3/4 of summer travelers are literally booking their next vacation while still carrying the debt of their last one. That's not a relaxing getaway. That is a timeshare of regret with zero off-season. Now this stat right here, this is the real gut punch, 13%. An Empower survey found that 13% of Americans actually admitted to dipping into their retirement savings just to fund a vacation. Let that sink in for a second. 1 in 8 people reached into the account meant to keep them fed and housed at age 75 just so they could go to the beach this year. No way. To bring these massive numbers down to earth, let's look at a quick case study. Let's call them Ross and Rachel. They're a completely responsible middle-income couple making about $95,000 a year. They've got their 401ks, a little emergency fund, the whole responsible starter kit, right? But this year, they fell right into the trap by financing a $6,200 trip to Tulum. They didn't have the cash just sitting around, so they split it up on a credit card. Keep them in the back of your mind because we're going to check back in on what this single trip actually ends up costing them.
Section 2. The psychology of overspending.
You see, this isn't simply a spending problem. It's a psychology problem, heavily engineered by a billion-dollar marketing machine designed to get you to open your wallet. You have absolutely seen this exact language everywhere. Collect moments, not things. Now, the funny thing is, psychologists genuinely found that experiences do make us happier than random stuff that just depreciates in our garages. That's actually good science. But then, the travel industry got a hold of it and turned it into a weapon. Every airline ad and cruise commercial uses this phrase, and its sole purpose is to switch off the part of your brain that does basic arithmetic. We basically start treating vacation funds like monopoly money. The real you will sit there and agonize over a $9 streaming subscription, doing the math on whether you really truly need it. But vacation you effortlessly approves a $6,000 trip because, hey, we earned it. It's self-care. We applied this completely different, distorted financial logic to travel, giving ourselves permission to say yes to the room upgrade, the wild excursion, and the $40 cocktail. And social media is the absolute accelerant here. 79%. That's the percentage of Gen Z travelers who actively admit they spend more than they originally planned just to chase an aesthetic. They are bumping up their budget to capture a feeling they saw on a total stranger's highlight reel. Think about it. You would never justify buying a $4,000 couch you couldn't afford, but a trip. The industry has completely weaponized the concept of meaning to pry open wallets that really should have stayed shut.
Then we get to the booking screen itself. When that screen gently offers you 4 easy payments through buy now, pay later services, it is not a feature for your convenience. Companies like Affirm literally boast that their users spend 48% more, and Uplift sees a 22% increase. It's a flat-out confession that these little buttons deliberately make you spend money you never would have spent if you had to feel the full pain of the price all at once. Just like that, you've turned a one-week vacation into a grinding monthly subscription.
Section 3. Hidden costs and lost wealth. Now that we've seen the psychological traps they set for us, we need to uncover the terrifying math of what this actually does to your wealth over time. Because expensive is just expensive, but this is a trap. The sticker price is almost never the final price. First off, you've got resort fees that average $33 to $50 a night for a pool you already thought was included. Then there's the all-inclusive illusion, where the actual good restaurant and the spa session are suddenly extra. And finally, the ultimate final boss, timeshares. $25,000 up front, with an average $1,500 a year maintenance fee that never, ever stops. And the resale value? Often literal zero. It's essentially a subscription you can't cancel, making it the only asset on earth that costs money to give away.
Let's look back at Ross and Rachel's timeline to see the real damage. They booked their $6,200 Tulum trip, but because they financed it, that 22% credit card interest acts as a massive financial drag. Fast forward 8 months later, and their balance is already approaching $8,000. They literally paid $8,000 to experience 6 days. Congratulations, you have just invented the world's worst exchange rate. But here is the number that should change how you view everything: $50,000. If Ross and Rachel took a single $5,000 trip at age 30 and instead invested that money in an index fund, earning even below the long-run stock market average, it becomes around $50,000 by the time they are 60. That is the true opportunity cost of your vacation. Your week in the sun isn't costing you $5,000 today, it is literally costing your future self $50,000.
Section 4. The happiness illusion.
Now, if spending this kind of future wealth genuinely made us happier for a long period of time, maybe the math could be justified. But science completely disagrees. Researchers refer to something called the fade-out effect, which is driven by the hedonic treadmill. Basically, your brain recalibrates to paradise scarily fast. Day 1 on the beach is pure magic. Day 3 is nice. But that happiness boost fades within days or at most a month after returning. And the wildest part of all this? The data suggests that a $12,000 overwater bungalow and a $1,200 simple cabin in the woods produce the exact same fade-out drop in happiness. The industry is charging you a massive luxury premium for happiness that doesn't actually stick around.
A landmark study tracked over 1,500 people and found a fascinating truth. The main joy of a vacation actually comes from the anticipation, the planning, the looking forward to it weeks before you ever pack a bag. The reality afterward? Well, you're checking your work email on day 6, you come home to a mountain of laundry, and vacationers end up being no happier overall than the people who just stayed home.
So what actually works for us? The data strongly points to trips that are genuinely restful, trips paid in cash, so there's no dark cloud of a financial hangover erasing your good mood. Frequent and modest getaways, rather than one giant blowout. Socializing with people you actually love. Notice what absolutely isn't on this list: expensive, 5-star, or exotic. The data definitively shows that happiness comes from restful, debt-free connection, not a massive price tag.
And that brings us to Section 5, the 5-3-10 travel rule.
Since the goal here is never to stop living, but simply to stop confusing the price of a trip with the actual value of one, we can use a really simple mathematical framework, the 5-3-10 rule. Step 1. Limit your total annual travel spending to 5% of your gross income. Step 2. Ensure you can pay off the entire trip within 3 months in actual cash. Seriously, if there's a buy now, pay later button involved, you just can't afford it yet. And step 3. Mentally multiply the cost by 10. If a trip costs $4,000, you are deciding right then and there if it's worth a $40,000 future investment cost. You have to understand exactly what you are trading away.
By traveling in the shoulder season to save a quick 20%, driving instead of flying, booking places with kitchens to control your food costs, and literally walking straight out of those high-pressure timeshare pitches, you reclaim your wealth. If our couple, Ross and Rachel, apply this rule next year, they can take a truly great trip to a cabin, pay for the whole thing in cash, and invest the difference. In 30 years, that difference alone is enough to pay off their house 15 years early.
Seeing the machine at work is the whole game here. The right trip, paid in cash, is absolutely one of the best things you can buy. But the wrong trip, financed and stressful, is a destructive personal finance move just wearing the costume of a good one. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I want you to reflect on your own past travel hangovers. What's the most you've ever regretted spending on a trip? The next time you're lying in bed, your thumb just hovering over that Reserve Now button, remember, start planning for your future self instead. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.